Merry Christmas, everybody. I hope you're having a great holiday season or otherwise celebrating in a special way the end of the year. Today, we have one more of this Christmas week's bonus episode, and we will be focusing on how we can use the definition of value and the value metrics that we discussed this week to make decisions faster. So stay tuned for the other two topics coming up this week. We still have Thursday and the TGIF Friday episode, of course. So stay tuned for those. Don't forget that each of these episodes is a companion to the Coach Your Product Owner e-course that you can get at bit.ly/coach-your-PO. That's all one word, all lowercase. That's bit.ly/coach-your-PO, all one word, all lowercase. So this week we cover 5 topics that every Scrum Master should be able to help their product owners work on. And each of these 5 topics is a complement to one of the modules on that Coach Your PO e-course. So first, let's start with today's topic. Today we talk about decision-making and how speed of decision-making is the goal ultimately for product owners. So helping the PO define value and measuring it are, of course, important activities, but the ultimate goal for Scrum Masters is to help the PO to use that information to make decisions quickly. The speed of software development is indeed directly affected by the speed at which the PO and the stakeholders can make decisions, and also the team can make decisions. One such decision is what to develop, and of course, therefore, also what not to develop for our product. But there are other decisions as well. Today, we're going to focus on the decisions related to the product backlog. Now, on Monday, I shared an example from one of the trainings that I host for product owners. And in that example, I shared how product owners that have a clear definition of business value and associated metrics are able to make decisions faster. A simple heuristic for us is this: the faster decisions are made, the faster we can deliver and collect feedback on those decisions. But this is just the start. The speed of decision-making, together with effective feedback cycles, can further increase the speed of development because it also helps us decide what not to do. This is how we implement the agile principle of maximizing the work not done. It's a very effective way to be faster, decide what not to do. So speeding up decision-making has a first-order effect, faster development, but it also has a second-order effect. When we learn faster, we also learn what should not be done, and therefore gain time. So one important question, of course, is to ask, what do product owners need in order to be able to make decisions quickly? When we think about that question, the natural question that comes next is what's keeping them from making decisions quickly? And keep in mind that I'm talking about POs, but I also mean stakeholders, because stakeholders also need to make decisions, not just POs alone. So I would say that there are 2 main types of obstacles to the speed of decision-making. The first one is the lack of relevant information to the decisions that we need to make. And by this, I mean information that allows us to understand what to include or not to include in the product. And the other is the type of information that is there but comes too late. So this second obstacle, we have the information but it comes too late, is, for example, when we think we know we must deliver a feature, but then when we finally get information that allows us to understand the value of that feature, we've already delivered it. And of course, now we can't take it out anymore and we need to maintain it in the future and so on. The first obstacle, lacking information, needs to be solved in a way that allows the team to collect information quickly enough, which is indeed the second obstacle or second problem, the speed at which information is collected. So let's look at this in turn. First, how do we help collect information that matters for our product owners? So on Monday, we already talked about one of these aspects, which was how to define value for our products. And this is step 1 in collecting the right or relevant information. We need to collect information that contributes to decision making, and we cannot do that unless we understand what is value for our product. Yesterday, on Tuesday, we talked about how to measure that value, which of course helps us to translate that information in a way that informs decisions. These are the metrics we talked about yesterday. So today we talk about the process that allows us to collect that information. And this is when we need to talk about experimentation. Let me share an example with you. In my own company, we sell products. These are products like the Coach Your Product Owner e-course, the Vision Workshop e-course, or even the different books that we help publish. But for now, I'll focus on this podcast itself, which is in itself also a product. Back in the day when I started working on this podcast, one of the initial goals was the number of daily downloads. And I looked at that metric on a regular basis, but as I did more experiments, nothing seemed to help. Nothing moved the needle. Until one day I was looking at the other podcasts and how they ranked, and I noticed that one of the podcasts that consistently ranked in the top search results used the keyword for that podcast in every episode's title. Let me share what that was. So the podcast was about product management, and every episode for that podcast was titled Product Management Is. So some examples would be product management is conversations, and they would talk about conversations, dialogue, conflict management, etc. Then there would be product management is product design, and then they would talk about UX and design and so on. And then another one would be product management is sales, and then they would talk about understanding the sales aspect, market research, etc. You get the picture. Everything was product management is something. So that insight, when I saw that, it helped me devise an experiment. I started to add the words Agile and Scrum to all the titles for the episodes that I was publishing. However, I expected something to change, but it didn't. And after thinking about that for a while, I decided that I would need to reevaluate the metric I was using, which was total daily downloads. And I started looking at different metrics and how they changed before and after the experiment was run. Eventually, I realized that the key metric for me and for my goal was not total daily downloads, but it should rather be daily downloads for the latest episode, on the day it was published. So for example, I would look at the downloads for the Tuesday episode by the end of the first 24 hours. And the Wednesday episode by the end of the first 24 hours. And I would not look at the downloads for all episodes. And this experiment that I ran helped me realize that I had been focusing on the wrong metric all along. And I only got to that conclusion because I considered what information to collect. So I reevaluated the metrics that I was using, and I found out that I was collecting the wrong information for the decisions I needed to make. So a key decision is to find out if you are collecting the right information for your product. And this you can do by simply asking, can I make decisions that I need to make based on information that is available today? You can ask the product owner, you can look at the information available, and you can assess, do we have the right information to make the decisions we need to make? And that's the first problem or first obstacle. But the second one, if you remember, is collecting that relevant information we just talked about in a timely fashion. So yesterday, we talked about the difference between strategic metrics and day-to-day metrics. The day-to-day metrics are those that change every day and therefore are available to us quickly enough for us to make decisions on. On Monday, we talked about the importance of understanding the strategy of the company. But then, after we understand the strategy, we must translate that into daily metrics that help us make decisions every day. So to define strategic metrics, where we start from, at Oikosofi here in the company that I own and manage, we use a tool called the business value equation. And you can get more about that in the Coach Your product owner e-course, but shortly, this is a simple mathematical statement related to the metrics you care about. So for example, consider a website that sells products like, Amazon, the website, not the company, but, Amazon, the website. And the revenues for Amazon, the website, are a factor of the number of visits, the conversion rate, or the likelihood that someone who visits actually buys something, the average sales price, when you put their carts together, what's the average price of each purchase, and then the repeat rate, how often does a customer come back? Those are strategic, or as we call them, top-level metrics. These metrics are typically metrics that inform us on the company performance, but are not granular enough for us to run daily experiments on our products. Therefore, we must take those metrics and translate those top-level metrics into day-to-day metrics, and this is key. If we can do this, if we can translate the top-level metrics into day-to-day metrics, we can then run experiments that gets us information quickly so that it enables quick decision-making. And at Oikosophy, the company that publishes this podcast and that I own and manage, we use a tool for that called the metrics tree. This is a tool I learned from Chris Matz. I'll put the link to him and his LinkedIn on the show notes, so credit where credit is due. The metrics tree is a tool that helps us decompose these top-level strategic metrics into lower-level metrics that change every day and allow us to run experiments, which in turn deliver the information we need to make decisions and do that in a timely fashion. Let's talk about an example of this metrics tree that exemplifies what I'm trying to explain. And I'll put a picture of what a metrics tree could look like in the show notes so that you can go and check it out. We'll take the example of the Amazon website. So let's say conversion rate for the Amazon website. The conversion rate, how likely it is that a visitor buys when they visit the site. This conversion rate is affected by different factors, like, for example, do they add an item to the cart or not? When they are in the checkout process, do they see shipping costs, or is shipping shown to be free? Now, if we decompose this high-level metric or top-level metric called conversion rate into these lower-level metrics, how often do people add items to the cart, and are they shown the shipping costs or not? Like these lower-level metrics that can be tested several times a day and even in one day, we can therefore run several experiments just based on those questions. And we can run those experiments even in 24 hours or less. And this is the key. We will talk more about tomorrow how to enable 24-hour experiments. But for now, let's just say that if we want to make decisions quickly, the information must also be collected quickly. And for that, we must consider the relevance of the information. Are we collecting the right metrics? So check that out in the first part of this podcast, and also the speed at which we collect that information, which is this day-to-day metrics that enable quick decision-making. Because at the end of the day, if it takes too long to learn, we will end up delivering things we would not need to deliver. So today we talked about how quick and adaptive decision-making is one of the key performance aspects for the product owner role. And of course, how we, Scrum Masters, can help them. Today we talked about how to ensure that we're collecting the right information that helps us make decisions, and also to collect that information quickly in a timely fashion, even in 24 hours or less, and more on that tomorrow. Today, just like all of the week's episodes, are companion episodes to the Coach Your PO e-course, which you can check out at bit.ly/coachyourpo. All one word, all lowercase. That's bit.ly/coachyourpo. All one word, all lowercase. In version 1, module 8, called Defining the Perfect Sprint Goals, we talk about how we can use metrics to make decisions. And we can do that as part of our sprint goal process by defining sprint goals around our product goals. For example, in the example we just talked about, the conversion rate, we could talk about increase the number of people that add items to the cart. That was the example we had today. And that's something we can bring on to the sprint goal if we have the metrics that allow us to run experiments during the sprint. In version 2 of the course, module 2, version 2, how Scrum Masters can onboard a new or beginner product owner, we talk about goal setting. The process of goal setting helps us discuss what are the metrics we care about. The goal of those metrics is to, of course, inform decision making. And talking about what are the key decisions to make also helps us define better metrics. And you can check Monday's episode where we talk about more the goals for the product. Also in version 2 of the course, module 3, which is how to work with a skeptical product owner who's new to Agile and does not yet have the right skills to work with Agile teams. In that module, we talk about the need to understand that requirements are discovered, and requirements discovery is a key responsibility for the product owners. So today's episode shares how we can prepare for the kind of decision making that enables requirements discovery. You can get more information and purchase the Coach Your PO e-course at bit.ly/Coach Your PO. That's bit.ly/Coach Your PO, all one word, all lowercase. Now, if you think that actually getting coaching and, hands-on support is a better option for you and your PO, then contact us at coaching@oikosofi.com. We have a cohort coming up, and if you're interested, we can answer your questions there. That's coaching@oikosofi.com, and the link is also on the show notes. Keep learning and keep helping your team. I'll see you tomorrow, and Merry Christmas!
We really hope you liked our show. And if you did, why not rate this podcast on Stitcher or iTunes? Share this podcast and let other Scrum Masters know about this valuable resource for their work. Remember that sharing is caring.